This isn't the same game series at all. With no sarcasm. I used to play quite a lot of Modern Warfare 2. And, I noticed...
That's the trilogy, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the...
That they're stopping at 3.
Right, we
But,
weren't just mentioning Call of Duty, and we will get... No, that's actually not sarcastic. We will get in trouble if we slag them off too much. We know people it's happened to, so...
Yeah, we won't talk about COD.
My point being is that when I... the Modern Warfare series, they had 1, 2 and 3, which obviously 3 is going to come out in November, the whole battle with that and Battlefield 3. They were a planned trilogy. And all of these anti-CODites who sat there and go, oh, well, COD's shit, it's a first-person shooter.
Have you ever played it?
Have you ever played it is my number 1 point. I will argue that the first-person series is not so great. It's very short, but it's very cinematic. If you like watching endless cutscenes, then there you go.
Whoa. Don't be going slagging off my cutscenes because they're full. There's...
No, don't.
Right.
God.
Right. Kingdom Hearts, my all-time favourite game. The second game, there is a cutscene that there's a little bit of gameplay in between each little bit, but basically it's a continuous cutscene and it goes on for about 45 minutes.
Yeah, Metal Gear Solid does the same. I'm not trying to argue that cutscenes ruin a game, but my point is when a game's only 8 hours long, you don't need 5 hours of it being fucking cutscenes.
But no, like Kingdom Hearts is quite a long game.
Yeah, it's very well. It makes up for it. It's different in RPGs. My point being,
better storyline.
Jesus Christ. My point
Sorry, but I'm going to sit here and defend it, alright?
I wasn't slagging off Kingdom Hearts. I never said the word.
I know, but you were slagging off cutscenes. I'm sorry, I swear to God.
My point... Sorry, guys. We do turn to domestics after a bit. My point being is that playing a single player, there's nothing particularly wrong with it or anything. But they're on a winner. They know what's going to happen, right? I used to play Modern Warfare 1, right? And I used to play online. As soon as the second one came out, it was hard to fucking find anyone. There was nobody on Medal of Honor, I've said it again, Modern Warfare online. I couldn't find anybody. There was like 2...
There wouldn't have been.
Exactly, they've all moved to the second one. But there's no fucking difference. About a year later, when it was in pre-owned for 12 quid, I bought it. And there's more people in there. And I'm going... This is the same fucking game. And I don't buy it for the single player. I buy it so I've got a nice, decent multiplayer game to play.
Now, I'll stop you right there. Buying a game for the multiplayer that isn't designated a multiplayer game.
Hence why I bought it for 12 quid. I'm willing to pay 12 quid for it. I ain't willing to pay 40 quid for it. If you take out the single player, that's all you've got.
Right.
This is your rant now. Multiplayer. Value for money.
Should not, I mean, I've said this before, should not be an excuse. If the multiplayer is good and it's whatever, right? It's not an excuse for a shit single player campaign, right? Single player should be, unless it is a massively multiplayer game, which there are, check Steam, right? I'm not disputing the fact that there are multiplayer games out there that are good, and they're only there for multiplayer games. But if you're,
I'm sorry, I was just gonna say, if you want an example, I play EVE Online.
EVE Online, right?
Playing the game, when you first start, the game actually, most games, you get the game and it holds your hand for a little bit. And after a bit, it tells you to keep on walking, and then it's sitting back in the shadows, and every now and again it'll go, right, here's new feature number 56, here's new feature number 2000. EVE gives you every option at the start and says, do whatever the fuck you like.
Go nuts.
And I'm not being funny, I've played that game on and off for about 3 years. And I haven't found all the features. I've started playing again recently, and it's not even a new update. I'm doing stuff that I've never done before. I'm going, I get bored of one thing, and I'll go, right, well, mining this game pretty boring now. Do some exploring, finish exploring, well, that's getting pretty boring now. Do some fighting, finish the fighting, do guild fighting, do trading. And it's just like...
It's Team Fortress 2, that's there to be played multiplayer. You can play it offline if you wanted, with computer-generated characters and computer-generated teams and shit. But it is a multiplayer game. You go in there to play with people, to kill people, to make friends, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, that's not... But if you're buying... Right, example. Right. It doesn't have a multiplayer system, right? It's single player. But, if I paid...
34 quid for that.
34 quid. I should have paid 40 quid for it.
Let's just say you paid 40 quid.
Say I paid 40 quid for the limited edition. I did not pay 40 quid to go piss around with someone else on
Yeah.
multiplayer. I paid 40 quid for a storyline, for a decent single player campaign. I wanted depth, I wanted knowledge, I wanted a twist, I wanted a turn, I wanted all this kind of bollocks, and I wanted decent gameplay. I didn't want to sit there with my mates and go, it's quite good, isn't it? Do you want to try? Go.
Being honest, this is actually a point that really annoys Freya. I've read letters and letters and letters of people who don't have online. You shouldn't have to feel like you need an online connection to do multiplayer. Which brings me to point number whatever the hell we're on now. Right, where the hell has single player? Where the hell has split screen
co-op gone? Right.
We had it. I used to play it loads as a kid.
Yep.
And then they had a period where it wasn't there.
The last.
And then it's here now, but
it's not.
If it is there, it's got all of its features stripped, and then we're in this little stage now where Borderlands, thank God, seems to have brought it back, and you can do... But Borderlands is proof that you can have an entire game. I mean, start to finish, that game takes you about 20...
Right, let's think about it. Think of a more well-known game that's got a decent co-op. Halo.
Yeah.
Right? Me and my dad completed the entire game 4 times over co-op.
Yeah.
Right? There's no difference in the gameplay, right? Co-op is excellent in Halo. I cannot fault it at all. You know, my dad would be sat there with a sniper rifle and a grenade launcher. I'd be there with an assault rifle and a plasma rifle, whatever.
And there's no need to change any of the game features.
There's nothing changed.
And
We ran through it single player,
We
we ran
did,
through
yeah.
it co-op. We never played online, right? We didn't have that.
Then we got to the stage where... Am I right in thinking, now correct me if I'm wrong, you can't do co-op on Halo 3? Now, guys, I might be wrong. I think you can't do Halo 3 co-op offline.
We played co-op, both of them, for Halo 1 and Halo 2, because they were both on the Xbox. Then Halo 3 came out on the 360, which posed a problem because we couldn't afford a 360 at the time. We were strapped for cash,
Yeah.
right? So I've never played Halo 3.
No.
Tom doesn't have it. I don't have a 360. I have a PS3.
Bad example, I won't go into
And
it.
it's Xbox exclusive.
Yeah.
So I'm probably never going to play it
I might buy it.
unless Tom buys it. Then I will play. But either way, right? You don't. Another example, Red Dead. I've heard. Well, Tom told me it's got a very good online system, right? It's you and a couple of our mutual mates, and you all play it. Obviously, they've all got 360s, so I'm not part of that.
It's
But I don't need it.
no
Red Dead is a fantastic game.
single player experience. My point was going to be is that if Borderlands can do a complete single player experience for about
Why the fuck can't anyone else?
20 hours, and you can play that with a friend, and that obviously proves that it's easy enough to do. So why can't you do that with GTA and Red Dead? Why can't you have like... My point is, if you're going to do multiplayer, have it local.
Oh, no,
It's a lot more fun to sit there with a mate. You know, I can sit here with Freya and play an online, play a split screen game. So much more fun than playing with some guy I've never met.
Exactly. It's like, Assassin's Creed.
Well, it's like Portal. Now, me and Freya did Portal. That's the best co-op game I've done for a long time. Me and
Portal
Freya.
2 is fantastic co-op.
But they put in a split screen, and without it, I would have had no fun playing with some guy I didn't know, going, oh, you need to put it there, and him arguing with me.
Whereas with us, it's banter, it's funny, it's hilarious, that we're both dying, we're both killing each other deliberately because it's funny.
If we can record that one day, we will.
We will, yeah. Okay, I don't know, she'll be down in a minute. Sorry, the puppy's whining. And it's hilarious, right? Red Dead, Assassin's Creed. I've never played online Assassin's Creed. I played online Red Dead for you on your for about a couple of minutes. But I've never played it. You don't need them. The Assassin's Creed storyline is phenomenal.
And it'd be a shame, it'd ruin the series if they shorten the single player. They haven't yet.
Right, guys, if you're Assassin's Creed fans, imagine, right, a reduced single player campaign.
I mean, let's be honest, that game's so weird, it's only holding on to its credibility. It's amazing, but it's so weird at times that if it was any shorter, you would literally sit there and go,
What the
is
fuck's going
this
on?
shit?
Right, you reach the end of each game. This is right. We're up to Brotherhood now. We're waiting for Revelations to come out. You've reached the end of the first one, the end of the second one, and the end of Brotherhood, and sat there and gone,
The fuck?
when's the next one coming out?
Yeah.
I really need to know what's going on. Imagine you didn't have that storyline, and you were supposed to be happy with the fact that multiplayer's good. Bollocks to your multiplayer, right? It's not what it's about. If you want a multiplayer game, go buy a multiplayer game. I'm not sitting here paying for games because other people want multiplayer. We're gonna buy a multiplayer game.
That was a nice round push.
I think I might need a pint. It's just, it
is
really winds me up. It really winds me up when gaming mags give games 9 out of 10 because they've got good multiplayer. Oh, well, the single player is not very good.
Actually,
but the multiplayer is very good.
I was going to say, I mentioned this a few times, but not in this series. I read OXM, Official Xbox Mag, and they gave, and to my disgust, Homefront, that 4.5 hours game with the multiplayer, they gave it 7 out of 10. On the grounds, the multiplayer picked it up. Everyone else I read gave it a 3 or a 4.
Which is what it deserves.
Don't get too angry, Fred. We
Sorry.
can't slag off video. We can't.
I'm not.
We can't actually slag off games.
No, we're not slagging them off. But
my point being is that if it was a 3 or a 4, I wouldn't buy it. If it was a 7, I might buy it. You know, it's just like you trust these mags, and sometimes you've got to bear. I mean, like for example, the only reason why I'm using it as an example, you can't just, you can't take it out of fashion because some of you might sit there and say, well, why didn't you just read the fucking review? Their review never stated that the multiplayer was the reason it went up. I've worked that out on the grounds that it was a 3 and 4 in every other mag, and they have like a pluses and ticks, crosses and ticks session at the end.
Yeah.
And one of the ticks was good multiplayer, and they only had 2 ticks, and it was that and good graphics. And the other 3 was, I can't think how they worded it. It was exceedingly short, lack of weapons, and lack of storyline. And I'm going.
So the only good thing.
The only good thing is the good graphics and the multiplayer, which essentially is 1 point.
So this is the argument. I've calmed down.
I'm just saying
now.
we'll pause in a second. We're just gonna take 5 guys, I think. And,
yeah.
And you guys won't know we're gone. We'll separate into another part.
Yeah.
We're back.
I think I need to apologise for my, but I've just had about 5 minutes just calming down. I got a little bit wound up. Tom's just come to the conclusion it's because we can't afford games. Simple as.
And it's annoying when you buy a game and you can't afford it. The trade-in prices are something else. They're taking the piss.
Yeah,
There's no other word for it.
It literally is. As soon as you take the cellophane wrapper off, you've lost about 10 quid.
Well, I mean, no, to be fair, that's with everything. I mean, my dad's always randomly said, yet he's never had a reason to say it, that like when you buy a car, if you buy a car for 10 grand, the moment you start it up, you've knocked 500 to $1,000 off.
But at the same time, you buy a pair of jeans, right? You put them on, they don't fit, so you take them back. You get your full price back.
Yeah.
You don't knock a $5 off because you've worn them once and tried them on. It's just like, it's quite annoying. Even if you try them on in the shop, technically, if you were to take the cellophane wrapper off the game in a shop and then to trade it in immediately, they'd immediately knock price off.
But then you have to. I mean, it's the same with like. You have to ask yourself what do you want instead.
I know the system is flawed, but we don't have an answer for it. There's no sort of.
I was thinking, do you want to just move into the kitchen?
No, we'll just take. Yeah, we're back. Sorry, you barely noticed that we've been gone. Apart from the fact that I was probably sat here and now I'm probably like it. But apologies for getting so wound up. And if I've slagged any games off, I'm not slagging games off. I was just very, very angry. Tom's come to the conclusion that it's because we're broke.
At the end of the day, we can't afford to be buying games at the price that they're giving them out. Now, we had a bit of a discussion in the break, and we were saying that, I mean, like, if you, it's understandable in a way, but the trading prices take the piss.
Yeah.
I buy a game, right? Now,
you're not a big fan of replaying a game, are you? Depending. Overall, no. But compared to yourself, I don't like replaying games. Once I've played them once, I lose the magic. And there's only about, in my collection of games, I must have owned hundreds of games. I buy games all the time. But I'll be honest with you, I've at the moment, for example, on the 360, I own about 20 games. I've probably owned about 100. So there's 80 games I've traded in. Now, a lot of the time I do that to get money back. If I want to buy a new game, I can give them my old games. They'll knock a $5 off, you get the game for cheaper.
But there's some situations that they're taking the piss. I mean, like, Mirror's Edge is an exceptional game. Now, I shouldn't have traded it in. But I did, because I had no money and another game came out that I wanted and had all intentions to buy it back. Now, admittedly, I haven't had chance because I haven't had enough money. They're charging ridiculous prices.
Hmm.
Now, Game sells it for 15 quid. Steam sells it for 12 quid. After I bought said game that I traded in about 10 games to get, and I didn't pay a penny for it, if I remember right, it was Fable free actually. I checked the receipt. They sell it for 15 quid.